So we're going to have a bit of a discussion, and then we're going to open up to questions in about, I think, 10 minutes. What I'd like to do in our discussion is talk a little bit about kind of traditional models of economic development and how they can work well, or perhaps how they need to be adjusted for clean tech as a new type of industry. And my observation is that oftentimes economic development organizations they just see this as the new X. So they did biotech, they did some IT, they did heavy manufacturing. This is just another X. So you need to put together your brochures and open up your wallets and give out incentives, and then that's it. Arguably, this is a little different in a couple of different ways. One of which is the role government plays. I think government has a lot more cards to play. But wanted to get your thoughts on how is clean tech different? How do we, in thinking about economic development, need to address clean tech in a unique way?
Well, I'll maybe start on that. I think that it isn't an issue whether we want to or whether we should embrace clean tech. I don't think we have an option, not just as British Columbians or in Quebec or Canada, but around the world. We have a growing population on this planet. We have a limited amount of resources cumulatively. And we have to learn to not only be smarter, but to utilize what we have and what we're blessed with on this planet in the way that only the clean tech sector and the development through education and through new technologies will allow us to continue to do that. So governments can come up with all the good ideas they think, but if no one government, not in British Columbia, not in Quebec, with all due respect to Quebec or any other province, we need to work together. So when a good idea or a clean tech sector develops in British Columbia and we find new innovative ways to do things, that doesn't just benefit British Columbia or the clean tech sector, the business sector here. It allows benefits to be accrued right across Canada and Quebec, around the world. And when Quebec's innovative sector and clean tech sector develops something new that will enhance the ability to do something in a new way, we all benefit. So, it's about collaboration, but it isn't about, as you said, maybe this is just the next wave of something, then we'll move on. We may move on to new things in the future, but clean tech is with us, I think, for infinity. I don't think we can move away from it, because every day we had better hope to do something better than we've done the day before, and clean tech leads the way.
I can take a stab at it. I guess, I'm not an economic development guy. I'm an entrepreneur, so I kind of come at this just from a pretty simple standpoint. As a technology class, clean tech is so different from biotech or IT. The scale of capital required for deploying a lot of our solutions requires, just by its very nature, intensive collaboration, because we're reinventing. You think about all of the types of clean tech that you might normally think about. You think about, or the ones that are most kind of visible. You think about renewable energy, or solar, or biofuels, or waste to energy, smart grid. These are all big infrastructure-related types of technologies, and we're really reinventing value chains. And so to develop and deploy this kind of technology requires tremendous amounts of cooperation between. We need new policies. We have policies that need to be reworked in order to allow distributed generation to happen, to allow smart grid to happen. We need utilities to change the mindset. We need leverage from funding. So you take that model of an ecosystem just to develop one technology, and then you scale it to an industry, and you have to have an ecosystem approach to developing a cluster. And I guess the other point is, we really started our clean tech group as a drinking club. I mean, and it really kind of went back to what some of the yeah, you can join. Yeah, you can join. You can join. Here, drink
That's
up.
Collaboration.
I get a lot of collaboration. I think it took six beers. Actually, that's a lie. It cost us money to get that brand. We didn't come up with over drinks. But it was kind of like what happened in Silicon Valley in the late 70s and 80s, where the CEOs got together and said, we're all in this high-tech sector. We all have common issues around, we need great people to work for us. We need to communicate with government. We need to attract great people here. We need capital. And how can we collaborate informally? And that's really where it started. And then we decided, well, maybe we can be a sounding board to government. And everything kind of went from there. So anyway, that was just a few thoughts.
Yeah. No, I agree. I would add another one, policies and willingness and programs, but also government, at least in Quebec, they understand. It seems that they understand the situation, that they really want to develop this sector. Well, in order to develop the sector, also the government can play a major role in being an early adopter. Mm-hmm. They have the opportunity to showcase some clean tech developed in the province. So that's what we're trying to influence government. You know, they have a program to buy arts when they're building, you know, when they're constructing a building, 1% goes to arts. We have that in Quebec. Mm-hmm. Let's have 1% for clean tech, at least. Let's begin with 1%. Let's see what we can do. So that's something also Quebec, the government can, how they can play a role.
You know, Denis got a great point because Canada is a small market. Our market for clean tech it's a global market, and we're all exporters. And so what we need to do, or what we think we need to do in British Columbia, it sounds very similar, is we need to become a great place to develop and demonstrate technologies here at home so we can export them. And that requires, we value early adopters. We love early adopters. And if you can come up with a great way to incentivize the public sector to become an early adopter and a risk taker, I'm sure that I'm sure the minister would be all ears.
I'm going to sell my idea.
It's a challenge in any jurisdiction.
Great. And then I like the comments about you know, the government role. And the nice thing is that if you're starting a new biotech company, you know, the government's going to say, okay, all the employees will get inoculated and be the test bed. Whereas you can say, gosh, you know, we do have water, 90% of the energy we're producing, and we have these waste streams you can play around with. So you know, perhaps there's that, you know, more active role beyond the policy role. I also want to go into more of the cluster versus infrastructure, and then also thinking about economic development at the small company level and at the rural level, not in the shiny, beautiful cities like Vancouver. So what are your thoughts on, is that a valid approach? Do we need to put more attention or not into the infrastructure aspects, creating opportunities for small, perhaps service companies in more rural communities versus, you know, the Nobel Prize winning venture capital-backed startup that gets all the press?
Do you want to go?
I don't know. This is a good question. In Quebec, when they decided to have this cluster, and in the interview, I asked them why. And at the beginning, it was supposed to be a cluster for Greater Montreal. Mm-hmm. And they realized that 40% of clean tech companies were in regions. Mm-hmm. So you cannot forget those companies also, because they're not very small sometimes. They can win a gold medal, and Montreal can assist them to win a gold medal. So the importance of a more open approach, it's not by region per se. It has to be by value chain, and the value chain actors can be all over the place. So that's we have in mind. We're going to try that. I don't know if we're going to succeed, but we have this type of model in mind to incorporate the forces all around, not only all around Quebec, as I said, but also with our neighbors.
I guess my perspective on it would be that you really have to build on your strengths. So I'll give you a couple examples in British Columbia. Our pine beetle epidemic is a well-advertised consequence of global warming, and it's decimated our forest products industry. And Prince George is the center of the forest products industry. can I say that? I guess I can. What the University of Northern British Columbia has been a real catalyst in the whole Prince George area for collecting up all of the entire value chain of the bioenergy industry. And they've formed a bioenergy partnership, it includes about 100 different organizations that all contribute to various parts of the bioenergy value chain. Fuel suppliers, fuel harvesters, manufacturers, modeling companies, and so on. And they're building a cluster that builds on that natural biomass strength. Up in Northeast BC, Northern Lights College is right in the center of the oil and gas industry. And there's a tremendous wind resource up there. And they're training wind technicians up in Northern Lights College. And so these are examples of building on regional strengths. I don't think you can force fit any of these things. I mean, clean tech companies, I think, like any tech cluster, benefit from being a cluster. And you know, we all trade information about venture capital and private equity, and we trade sometimes employees. And but I certainly think you can build on regional strengths.
All right. Well, Bill, I'll just follow through briefly on that. I mean, a couple of things you touched on: infrastructure. I mean, fundamentally, whether we're talking about the clean tech sector or any other, from my perspective, you need a solid infrastructure to drive a strong economy, without question. That transcends boundaries of any sort. But when we look, as a globe, we're facing an urbanization of the populations into major centers. So when we look at what the opportunities are, we have to recognize that rural individuals and rural communities are as big a part of this economy as the larger centers. It doesn't mean maybe that the cluster has to be there, but in order to take something to a commercial state, to run pilot projects, much of what we do, and certainly the clean tech sector in British Columbia, I'll speak to that, you know, are innovative. They take their innovation, they apply it in regions around this province to find ways to bring that to the commercialization stage. So it is a real mix. It isn't either or again. It isn't about the large centers being the hub of activity, and that's where we will have to develop the technology and commercialize it. You know, there is a real opportunity, and again, it goes to jobs. This clean tech sector, and we're talking about economic development, it's about not only creating a better environment, but creating opportunity, and that opportunity is jobs.